welcome everybody. This is Omar from Team Ursaring bringing you another deck profile for our Rogue Mondays. Today joining me is Nolan. Nolan, you want to give a shout out real quick?
Hey, glad to be here doing a video with you. Today we're going to be profiling that Lucario Froslass deck, like you said, that I had a lot of fun playtesting.
Awesome, yes, definitely. So today we are doing the anti-meta Lucario GX Froslass. He's actually had some recent wins with this deck at local league challenges and some Winterbox as well.
Yeah, I've been having a lot of fun the last couple weekends, getting a lot of wins in with the deck. Takes a lot of people by surprise.
Absolutely. I mean, people don't expect these kind of decks, and when they come in, they usually clean house because people don't know how to play it, and they can't remember how to play against certain things either, or they're not even prepared for it. So we're going to get into our first slide that we got going on for his deck profile, and he's going to walk us through it and why he chose the cards, guys. So starting off, it looks like he's got his Pokemon lineup right here, so we're going to switch it over to him for him to explain to us what's going on with this deck profile. Nolan, go ahead.
Alright, well, first of all, I will acknowledge that I got my base list from Zapdos TCG. It was a really good starting list, and that's where I got a lot of the inspiration from. Starting out, have the 2-2 Lucario GX line, used primarily for Aura Strike. Whenever you evolve it, can do that 120, which doubles with weakness, does 240. Great for taking out everything that's fighting weak. Following that is going to be just a one of Aerodactyl GX, and as we'll see on the next slide, the only way I have to evolve that is actually through Ditto. Not playing any of the unidentified fossils, just a one of tech. It's another great one energy GX. The 50 times every energy attached to your opponent's Pokemon can take out a lot of things, and is very often because a fossil Pokemon in a non-fossil deck really throws. After that, we have a one of Diancie Prism Star. The extra 20 allows our fighting stuff to hit that 280 mark, which is important for the Alolan Raichu tag, and a lot of the Pokemon in Dark Box. Then we have a couple one-ofs. The baby for that Sledgehammer turn, doing 120 for one energy. And I can play this deck primarily as a non-GX deck. So if I want to hit the Sledgehammer turn, I can guarantee it just by not putting out Lucarios or Aerodactyls. Then chose to play one of Ditto, or not, I do have one of Ditto, but that's later. Have a one of Dedenne GX. Don't use it, but sometimes it's there to help dig you out of some really inconsistent hands, or a double custom catcher for game.
Alright, absolutely, and right here, I mean, with the Diancie, that makes perfect sense to be able to run of one up to hit those numbers against the Alolan Raichu, because a lot of people are playing that Pika-ROM deck because it's an easy deck to pick up and it's extremely easy to play. It's just all-around fun deck to go against as well with this that you have going on here. And like you said, I can see this being a non-meta, using your non-GXs here to get the games as well. And Aerodactyl is a great addition that just came out too for this deck because it's able to hit hard with the GX as well. So it's a great addition to this deck. And of course the Lucario, like you said, it's just another great card to have. You evolve it, you don't even have to have it ready. You just bring it out when you need it and there you go.
And then one other small note with the Aerodactyl GX, it can be a really good early game stall. Just the ability, your opponent's basic Pokemon needing one more energy can save you a turn in a lot of different matchups.
Absolutely, absolutely. Alright, so we're going to move on to our next slide here for you guys. And it looks like he is going to be showing off some water type, psychic types, and of course your other basic other Pokemons that he's got going on. So Nolan, go ahead and switch over to you.
Yeah, this is where the deck starts to look a lot more like a theme deck, which is what I jokingly call it. Once you hit, 4 to 5 types of Pokemon, it starts to look a little crazy, but it starts out with a 3-3 Froslass line. The ability for one water to do 140, doubled with weakness, is 280, which is huge against Reshazard. The ability to go up with a non-GX attacker for one energy, take 3 prize cards, and then they're forced to respond into a one prizer, just as a huge prize swing. It's also very effective against Blacephalon. Again, they hate to see non-GX decks being able to go 2-1 in a prize race is really, really huge. Following that up is another tech for the Blacephalon matchup, as I expected to see a lot of it coming out of Worlds with it getting second place in the Tapu Fini. For 1 energy, being able to do 100 if your opponent has that Ultra Beast set on. It's also seen a lot of help for me against different decks like Nagquag. They'll put out a Poipole, and being able to do 100 on turn 1 is something a lot of them don't expect. Following that up, we're going to see a couple one-ofs. The one-of Nihilego, therefore its Nightcap attack. When your opponent's down to the 2 prize cards, can come swing in with a big GX attack. Very good against Mew Mew, hitting it for weakness. And then just a lot of different attacks that can use late there in the game. Again, as another 1 prize of Pokemon. Have a one-of Mew for the Pikarom matchup, just in case they get a really strong. Don't want them to be able to take a GX attack, killing off 2 Pokemon. Then we're going to have a one-of Espeon. It's another attempt to patch up the Mew Box matchup, which is not an easy matchup because it can heal a lot, or it's just a large Pokemon that we're having the 2 to 3 shot since we can't hit it for weakness. This was my attempt to kind of patch up that matchup as well as I can. It still becomes a close matchup. Following that, we have our consistency in 3 Jirachi, just that early Stellar Wish, finding supporters, finding custom catchers, Pokemon communication, which is huge in this deck as I play so many different Pokemon. After that is a Ditto Prism, a little extra consistency for the Froslass, and then the Aerodactyl GX, just another Pokemon I can evolve up. And then finally, we're going to have a it's an attempt matchup. A lot of times, if they miss spell tags, you can take 2, possibly 3 prize cards, and that can be enough to win that matchup on it.
Absolutely. And guys, he was talking about the Malamar. I know he cut off a little bit, but he's talking about the Malamar for that Hoopa that he's got teched in here for you guys. All right. In the lineup that you have for the 3-3 Froslass, I think that's great because a lot of people are playing the Ability Czar, the Green Czar, and Blacephalon right now. So to be able to swing in for 1 energy and just take a knockout, and you don't even care.
The ability to come in, do 140, double the weakness. And it also kind of becomes the toolbox attacker for the deck in case you're playing something that's off meta or not fighting weak. The ability to do 140 for 1 is still huge.
Exactly, especially with the non-GX decks as well. I mean, that guarantees you the price raise, you know, as long as you can get them out consistency, and it's just great because a lot of the single prizers like Hoopa or Giratina are the biggest threat for single little baby attackers that are 130, and you're able to hit the 140 marker to be able to knock them out.
Exactly.
All right, so yeah, very interesting line of Pokemon here. A lot of areas to cover. You got the water for fire. You got some psychic. You got some fighting. So 3 of the major meta decks are in this deck to counter it. So it's a lot of good stuff here. So we're gonna move on to our next slide for you, which is gonna be the supporter lineup actually, and we're gonna switch it over to him again. Go ahead, Noel. So it looks like he's having some Lillie, Cynthia, Erikas Hospitality, Pokemon fan clubs, and Cyrus in this one.
Yeah, the Cyrus is my kind of bigger tech. It's again for the Malamar matchup. If they get into that 5 bench and you have the Jirachi active or a Froslass, the ability to make them shrink their bench down to 2 can be huge. They're either going to lose Jirachis for support or multiple Malamars, leading to less charging up. As far as going heavy with the draw supporters, Lillie honestly being the weakest of all of them. I often find that I have a large hand and can't Lillie for very many. So I've switched to a heavier Erikas lineup. And one that you don't often see is this Pokemon fan club, which is actually one of the most powerful turn 1 supporters you can play in. The ability to go get 2 Riolu or 2 Snorunts and basically look at your opponent and say, you can't kill both of them, which means I'm going to take 3 prize cards next turn against the major meta matchups.
Exactly, and the Pokemon fan clubs, it's great for this deck because, you know, you get to choose what you're going to pull out, especially what you're going against. So it allows you to be able to handle the situation well as long as you can get that Pokemon fan club into your hand. And on top of that, I mean, you're running so many Pokemon, so you're going to start with some basics as well. I do like the inclusion of the Cyrus because you are running both of the types that the Cyrus needs to get off. You're running the metal type Pokemon, you're running the water type Pokemon, and it's absolutely correct. I mean, it's going to hurt a lot of decks, especially Dark Box as well. It hurts the Malamar deck matchups. So it just covers a lot of areas as well. Okay, so we are going to move on to the next one. And it's the item count. So on his item counts, it looks very interesting as well. Some basic stuff, but some, yeah, okay, I can see that. All right, go ahead.
Yeah, we're trying to go for a simpler item in stadium counts. The 4 Pokecom is super important. With the really heavy Pokemon lineup, Pokecom is always live, which allows you to get out the specific attackers you need and the specific turns you need. If you're playing against something fighting weak, you Pokecom all the water Pokemon back in to get your fighting guys back out. After that, 4 Custom Catcher. It's the only guess that we really have that's effective in the meta right now, so we're forced to play it. Can occasionally bail you out if you have that low hand size, drawing up to have a lighter 2-switch to a skateboard engine for the Jirachi, which is more often than not fine because with such low HP Pokemon in general, it's going to get knocked out, so you're always able to promote the Jirachi and just have one escape board and usually be fine throughout the game. Then we come to the stadiums. The 3 Viridian is the lifeblood of this deck because we are only playing basic energy cards. And with 3 different types of basic energy, constant access to Viridian. A lot of argument has been made to try rainbows, but without the ability to search rainbow energy with energy lotto or a lot of draw consistency, I think the basic energy route is way more. And then I found space for a one-of power plant. Paid huge dividends for against Pikarom and then the Mew box especially. The ability just to say, hey, you had to find a counter stadium this turn or you're really not going to be doing anything is really huge in those matches.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, that power plant, it's going to shut a lot of the decks right now, especially with, I mean, you got Ability Zard now, you got Mew box, you got Dark box, you got Pikarom, you got a lot of decks that, you know, for one turn, if it buys you one turn, that's good enough because it's just, that's another turn that they're not getting prizes and you're already ahead of the price race on that. And I agree with you on the Viridian Forest. 3 is a must because, like you said, there's no energy search out right now. And to be able to run Viridian Forest, I mean, you can even throw a, what's that, energy spinner as well to get energies out too. So there's a lot more options for the basic energies right now to be searchable. And also, you need a lot of stadiums right now because you need to be able to bump stadiums as well. You don't want your opponent to be able to have their stadiums out for, you know, for long periods of time.
Stadiums like those Prism Star stadiums that we don't necessarily get to take use of being able to counter those that your opponent has on any given turn is really big.
Exactly, especially I think Guardy is going to come back, so that Wondrous Lavin, it's going to hurt this deck. So you want to have those counter stadiums to be able to attack, get those attacks off. Alright, so to our last slide that we got, the final slide is the energy count. Pretty basic here, guys. He's running the 2 Psychic, the 4 Water, and the 3 Fighting right here. And I'll let you explain why you chose a certain amount of numbers here.
The reason for the 2 Psychic is pretty easy. We only have the 2 Pokemon that use Psychic Energy in the Espeon and then the Nihilego. That's why that has the smaller count. As far as the 4 Water, 3 Fighting, it tends to be more matchups are water weak, so that's where the Froslass really comes in and becomes a little more key. I have gone back and forth between 4 Fighting or the 4 Water and then the 3 of the other one in the corresponding amounts. It kind of is just going to depend. If you have a really heavy Pikarom meta in your locals, I would maybe shade to the 4 Fighting, 3 Water side. It's going to kind of depend on your local optimal for you.
Exactly. I mean, it depends on what the era they're playing and the meta. I think that's the call you'll make to switch out the energy count here. But like you were saying earlier, you had some success with this deck at a few league challenges.
Yeah, I had a league challenge. We unfortunately had to play 5 rounds, but I was able to go 5-0 with the deck. But then I had 2 pack-a-win tournaments where I went undefeated. This last weekend, I did have a bad break with the deck. Played against 3 straight mountains, and that deck is a terrible matchup, and I hit every single one in the room, so that was a bad day.
Wow, okay. But still, I mean, to be able to go undefeated for a few tournaments and just that one bad day against Malamar players, you know, it's going to happen.
Exactly, and that's where we kind of sit with this meta right now, is that you can have a great matchup against 3 to 4 of the main meta decks, but there's going to be one that you have an auto loss to, so there is still that huge luck in who you're going to match up against.
And that all, yeah, exactly, and that all goes back to, you know, knowing your local meta. If you can figure that out, or either other areas meta, you know, that you're in a great spot to choose what you're going to play and what text you're going to put in as well.
Exactly.
So now we're going to get into a little bit of the how the deck does against certain metas, since he has been testing it. And I think the first one we should mention is probably the Zard, both the Zard list off the bat. And were you able to go against any Zard list over these past few weeks with this deck?
I've played against a couple of Zards, and it's one of the best matchups for the deck. Even when they are able to go primarily non-GX and avoid going in with the rest of Zard, everything in the deck, the Lucario and the Froslass can easily do 120, which is the baseline for that Baby Volcanion. And then if they do have to come in with their Reshiram and Charizard tag team, the Froslass comes up just for that 1 energy, Spiteful Sigh, take 3 prize cards, and there's almost no way back in that game. They're trading 3 for 1, and there's no way to keep up in that prize race. So that's actually one of the deck's best matchups, is just that 3/3 Froslass. So looking at your opponent and saying, can you kill 3 Froslass before I can take 6 prize cards against your water weak deck?
Man, it's terrible for that Zard player too, because I mean, even if you run out of Froslass, you have other attackers that are able to take those cards out, you know, whatever they dish at you. So the price raise for them is not, you know, it's not in their favor. So
it's really not.
Sounds like a lot of fun though to play against it. So we are gonna move on to the Pikarom matchup. How do you think this deck fares against the Pikarom matchup? And did you play any Pikarom players actually in these past few weeks?
I have played against an insane number of Pikarom, and that I think is honestly the deck's most powerful. They honestly can't really go with a non-GX focus, as many are just playing 1 Zapdos, and if they don't find that early, they are just pushing up 3 prize attackers that are weak to your Lucario, your Aerodactyl, and your Buzzwole. Again, you're going 3 for 2, and then you're going 3 for 2, and then the game's over. That I think is actually the deck's most positive matchup. Even in the games where you're having a really slow start, you can just wait until your Sledgehammer turn. So you're going to go down 2 prize cards, and then you're going to come up with Sledgehammer, one shot at Pikarom, and then they're going to be forced just to be fighting from behind that entire matchup. And the same thing kind of happens against Dark Box as Pikarom, as they're both fighting weak and fall into the same thing. They just can't keep up with the unfavorable.
And the good thing, then, that's why you run Viridian Forest too, to be able to dish out those energies when you need them with that Buzzwole. And it sounds like an interesting, fun match for you, because you just get to see the Pikarom player's face, like, what am I supposed to do? Especially since you got Mew on the bench, you know, they're going to have to waste a custom catcher or even a turn to take that out if they want to the Tapu GX.
Yeah, I actually had one matchup against a Pikarom player. I put out a Power Plant turn 1, and they were forced to draw a pass for 2 turns, holding 2 Dedennes in hand, and they just couldn't find a stadium bump to draw.
Man, that happens. Like I said, that one of is, as long as it buys you a turn, you know, it's got its use out of it for that power plant. So that's what it's there for. Such a good card. Alright, so we're going to move on to one of the other main decks that is coming out because of Worlds. I mean, it came back from Worlds. That's going to be Pasephalon. So have you played against any Pasephalons with this deck?
I've actually had one matchup against it. I actually started Tapu Fini. An unfair start.
Broken.
That matchup is exactly. That matchup is a little closer than the last couple we've talked about, but it's still favored. If they're able to get out just a swarm, if they get 3 of the next, doing 80 damage is enough to kill most of my Pokemon. So if they're able to force the non-GX into non-GX matchup, the deck can miss a beat or two. But if they go up with their GX attackers, they decide, hey, I'm going to push up 2+ F1s in a row, the ability to just use Frost or the Tapu Fini to take 2 1-shots in a row, take them off a B string, and just have that prize race again is really big.
Yeah.
So it comes down to matchup out.
Okay, then. So it's kind of, it could be 50-50, but it's still, you know, about an 80.
The matchup 65-35 if you don't prize Tapu Fini. If you prize it, the matchup gets a little close.
Wow. That's crazy. I mean, it just sounds like a lot of fun to play this deck against the current meta right now, especially if everybody in your area is playing meta. I mean, this is this is the deck to take and just kind of, you know, troll them out. The last few that we got to talk about, of course, is going to be the stall Pidgeotto that was at Worlds, the Malamar, and the Gardevoir Sylveon, because that is getting a lot of play now since there's not a lot of things that can one-shot it. So how do you think this deck does against those?
This is where the deck starts to see struggles, is against those decks that you just listed. The Pidgeotto control, with such a low energy count and most of the attacks putting damage on myself or being a one-time attack like with Lucario, you could stumble and miss a couple knockouts, and if they hit hammer flips, the matchup becomes really, really bad really fast. The Hoopa is the best card for the matchup, since they're going to put out multiple Pidgeys, and they're going to put out multiple Pidgeottos with abilities. You may be able to add Evil Admonition for a one-shot. If you're not able to, and you're forced to two-shot anything on their board, the matchup is going to get really slow for you, and you're probably going to start missing knockouts, which is all that deck needs. So that one's actually, I'm gonna say, is an unfavorable. It's going to kind of come down against it, both how both players set up. Just the low energy count means, and no recovery means they can run you out of energy pretty quickly.
Exactly, and if you can't just keep getting those knockouts consistently, then, I mean, they're going to run you out of energy. Because they're running that resource management of Rangaroo as well, just to be able to put those hammers back in.
And
yeah,
after that, oh, sorry, what were you saying?
No, go ahead.
I was gonna move on to the Malamar matchup.
Okay, go for it.
The Malamar matchup is, I'm gonna say, 90-10 in their favor. I've had some matchups where it's gone perfectly. I've streamed multiple Hoopas, missed spell tags, had a great Cyrus turn, and still is just one turn short. With such low HP, they're able to spread spell tags and just the distortion doors onto Jirachis. If you're unfortunate enough to start a Snorunt, they only have 50 HP. You can almost never put a Ditto out. With the really low HP and the Lucario GX being Psychic weak limits all of your options hugely. That matchup is a nightmare to put it in the best,
yeah, and
possible way.
Especially if they're running the Ultra Necrozma version too with that GX clean house.
Mm-hmm.
That's crazy. Okay, so I mean, one auto loss to a deck is good compared to, you know, auto wins on the rest of the decks. And the last one's going to be the Guardy Sylveon.
Guardy Sylveon's another interesting one. It's going to come down to their super scoop up hit flips and how well they consistently draw. If they're able to hit scoop ups, the effect that we're going to be 2 or 3 shotting them is rough. The one big thing that the deck has going for it is they are not able to one-shot a Lucario GX. The most that they can do is the 200 damage with their GX, which sets up Lucario for a cantankerous beatdown GX in response. So we'll be able to get one shot on a Gardevoir and Sylveon, and that could be enough to swing that matchup, is the fact shot of Lucario GX.
I guess you would save him for the end then, because that way you can use GX and somehow get the first Sylveon knockout.
Yeah, I think the deck can easily grind out that first knockout. If they go with a big 6 energy Guardian, you can maybe use the Aerodactyl's GX attack. Everything having 1 energy and being able to do a respectable roughly 120 damage leads to a 2 or 3 shot.
Okay. So I can see that happening. I mean, you could always bring out the Espeon too, since it does like 20 damage for each energy your opponent has. But still, it's going to be a 2-shot race right there, and then wait till you get that 1 shot to be able to come back with a GX attack to get the second knockout. So, I mean, it could be a 50-50, I believe. What do you think?
Yeah, that one's one of the closer ones.
Awesome.
And
Well,
then,
go ahead.
well, there was going to be one more matchup that's a close matchup. Is the Mew box that actually just won Worlds.
Oh, exactly. We forgot to talk about that one. Yeah.
If they can get the Cross Divide GX from Espeon and Deoxys on turn 2, it's hugely devastating since most of the Pokemon in the deck have low HP. That could net them 3 prize cards on turn 2 and really set it back. And then their ability to not be Psychic Weak. It's one of the few tag teams that the deck really can't hit Psychic Weakness unless you get that perfect Nihilego turn, or if they get enough energy on board that the Espeon can come in and take a one-shot. Especially with the number of stadiums they play, the one of Power Plant's probably not going to stick.
Yeah, because that deck is running a lot of stadiums for that reason.
Mm-hmm.
And it's crazy good. I've seen a few different lists, but each one is good. It makes a lot of sense how they're running it. You know, it used to be Charizard that was top dog, and now it's kind of 50-50 with Charizard, or it's got to be Ability Zard too, with against the Mew box.
Mm-hmm.
And right now, I think a lot of people are trying to play the Mew box and learn how to play it. It doesn't seem that complicated since you're just using it for the main attacker, copying a bunch of attacks from your discard pile, and it's just crazy good. And I can see your deck maybe being 50-50 on this match, depending on the opponent's setup as well, if you're going against the Mew box.
Mm-hmm. And if that's a matchup that you see that you're struggling against with this deck, it's a little bit of a concern, especially since the Mew is getting that promo tin coming out later this month. So the number of players that are going to have access to the deck is going to go insanely high, and a lot of people are probably going to want to try it when those tins come out, since the deck will become cheaper to play.
Exactly, and right now that's the thing. Just like when Charizard came out and Pikarom, you know, those cards were expensive, and then as soon as everybody gets able to get a hold of them, you know, people are gonna start playing them, and that's why we're seeing a lot of abilities are going around now, because the deck is easily accessible to everybody now. They can just go down Target, Walmart, or wherever they need to get their cards from, the local card shop as well, and pick up a few packs.
Exactly. When cards become more accessible, people flock.
Yeah. Okay, so anything else that you would like to talk about this deck? I mean, any more pros or cons about it?
The biggest pro for me is it's not a tag team deck. It's fun, and you're not sitting there saying, hey, I'm playing a tag team deck against a tag team deck, where if you miss a turn, you're going to go down 3 prize cards and the game's almost over. You can miss a turn with this deck and still be able to make a comeback against the top meta decks. And especially if this is a meta that you dislike because you don't like the big tag team, this is definitely going to be the deck for you. And the fact that you're playing 3 basic energies throws everybody off, and people kind of just scratch their head when they look at your deck and then they see your deck list and they're just like, how did you make that work? And that's just kind of, especially at local play.
Exactly. You have everybody scratching their heads right now, and I just can't believe some of the, you know, you've been winning with this deck. If I would have been playing against you, I would have been scratching my head wondering, what are you doing? But, you know, since you've got to test it out and actually gone to some local league challenges and some winner boxes, you know, it's just, you know, the results are great, and you're able to share with everybody, be like, hey guys, this is a good deck that's beating some meta right now.
Yeah, and it's been a ton of fun. I actually had a few people that were confused, but they thought I was only playing Lucario because they saw me play against Pikarom, so they thought I was playing a fighting deck. And so they sit down next to me, across from me with Reshazar, and they're like, oh, this... And then I don't play a single Lucario the entire match. They just have to deal with 3 Frostlasses, and they, wait, that's not what you're playing. Yeah, and they think that's what you switch.
Did you switch decks or something? Yeah, right? That's hilarious. Alright, so that's the end of our video, guys. Nolan, you can give your ending speech, and what else you give thoughts about this deck if you want, real quick.
I think we've covered just about everything with the deck. Another one of the pros is that it's fairly budget-friendly outside of the Jirachis. It's a very budget-friendly deck, which is nice for a lot of players. I'd especially suggest it if we have any junior parents or juniors listening in, parents of juniors. It's super simple, especially with the junior meta being really tag team reliant. It could be a really good play for that. Outside of that, just wanted to thank you for having me on and sharing out my deck list.
Absolutely, and I appreciate you submitting it and coming on board and being able to commentate with us. And guys, we are going to give a shout out to our sponsors. We have the Underground Games in Copper's Cove. We have the Game Closet out of Waco, and along with the Nexus out of Waco. They're really good sponsors for us. They're able to provide us with stream access, along with card shopping as well as products. So if you want to go get some cards, if you're in the area, I would definitely recommend stopping by and checking them out, guys. Alright guys, so that was the end of our video, and we appreciate you watching us, and keep us posted. And if you liked the video, please do comment, subscribe, and like it. And also, if you can comment some more ideas, that would be awesome, so we can get some more ideas going on with this deck and try it out, or Nolan can try it out. Alright guys, so that's the video for us, and we'll catch you next time. Peace out.